Awesome. So we're live. Thank you so much, Jeffrey, for coming out today to have a chat with us. We're really grateful to have you here. How are you doing today?
Very well, my pleasure to be here, man.
Awesome, great. So, as we were speaking prior, that
Yeah,
now a lot of people are looking to get into tech careers, and the question is always, how do I go? Where do I go? Who do I talk to? And we feel like learning from somebody who has gone through that journey is the best way, to know at least someone's experience, so that you can learn from it and not make the same mistake that person did. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So today we'll have some pretty interesting questions for you, and feel free to be at ease. It's not a panel, and we should have fun. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
looking
Awesome.
forward
Can
to it.
you? Sorry.
I said looking forward to it.
Great. Awesome. Can you please tell us your background before you got into tech? What were you doing? So, I mean,
I started off as did my undergrad in supply chain and business administration from George Brown, and prior to that, I did human resource management in Ghana before I immigrated to Canada in 2014. So when I came here, I just went to school and did supply chain management, and then yeah, that
awesome.
was
Awesome. Wow, that must be like a long way away from technology, you would say.
yeah, it was. And the thing about it is, I've always had this appetite for, well, I wouldn't call it appetite. I always had this interest for IT. Ever since growing up, I see, when you watch all those movies, those James Bond movies and all that, and you see those guys are genius at what they do. I've always had, that appetite to learn, but where we came from, you have to put a lot of invest a lot of money into that to really learn those skills. So, and I didn't really come from a very privileged background, so that's why.
Absolutely, and I totally agree with you. I mean, we had that kind of exposure in movies to those kind of things, and it was really fascinating.
Yeah.
So, you- so the question would be, how like why did you decide to go to tech in form of a profession, in form of a career? Why tech? Why did you pivot to tech?
Yeah. So, um, I've always had interest in tech. Like I said, we established before that, growing up, you watch those movies and you just wonder, can you actually do those things they do? Because, from being an outsider at the time, you look at these guys and say, "Oh man, these guys are geniuses. I don't think I'm smart enough to do what you're doing." Right? But it gets to a stage where I was just ready to take on whatever challenges that came. And I was like, I'll just dive in. What's the worst that can happen? I fail. I try again, or maybe I, focus my energy on something else. And yeah,
Interesting. And one follow-up question to that is that, of course, tech is an ocean, right? There's
yeah.
so many parts, so many domains, so many things in technology. So, how did you decide on what part of technology was interesting to you? What were the factors you took into consideration to decide on where you wanted to go within the tech ecosystem?
Okay. So I knew I wanted to change, but I didn't want, too much of a paradigm shift that would, shake my core. So I decided that, I was going to start off as, the min start with the minimal stuff, which is I started off as a business analyst, and, working as a business analyst, you get to deal with software, you understand the software, and sometimes you watch developers, hands-on do the thing, and that's where you kind of say, okay, you put two and two together, and then that's how okay, this is what is going on, and then you can, I just decided that okay, I think I can do this, right? I know the basic of how the software works. I know how deployment takes place. I just need to further educate myself in one or two areas, to be able to, stand, um, do an interview and be successful in that field.
Awesome, and that's really interesting. And I think from your answer, I depict something that when you talked about educating yourself, I think that that's one of the things that people struggle to do. Like
Mhm.
regardless of where you're moving from, when you get to a new place, you have to understand that when people are putting 5 hours, you will have to put 10. And
Yeah.
understanding that and putting that effort, I think it goes a very long way.
Yeah.
And just
Absolutely.
so just before we forget about this particular issue in terms of educating yourself. So now you got into the tech ecosystem, right? And
Yeah.
you're a business analyst working within a team. What kind of resources, or what were your go-to things in terms of getting up to speed and knowing more about the tech ecosystem? What kind of learning environment or learning platforms did you use?
hmm So I'd say, with regards to learning, learning classroom learning is, very important. You can't take that away. But some people just stop learning after they leave the classroom. But the approach I have is, I have a mandate for myself that I use in for mandate of learning at least one skills year. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the classroom. It can be from YouTube, right? And so I follow a lot of seasoned professionals as in business analysis or in the DevOps role for and sometimes they tweet and they bring up posts on LinkedIn, and you can learn from them. You can ask questions. If you have issues, also, those forums are also able to answer some of the questions that you may have. So, I think limiting yourself to just learning in the classroom will be it will be detrimental to you now or in the long run, because the guys that really know their stuff and that really stand out in an organization learn every day.
Awesome, awesome. That's quite true, and I would say that maybe that is even one of the things that led to huge adoption in technology, because it's against the regular classroom style where
Yeah,
if you want to be a doctor, you have to go to this and sit in a class. But now the world of knowledge, learning, it's so open. Like you could use YouTube, like you mentioned, you could use so many like learning platform, Udemy,
yeah,
Coursera, and a whole bunch of that. And I think that has kind of opened the world to everybody who wants to get that value from
yeah.
life. And that's very interesting. And I mean, I know you, and I mean, I can say for sure that you're very smart. So, and I know that you presently now you're into DevOps. So what happened? What led to the change? Okay, now that you're in business analysis, and I of course I know that. I mean, I'm not trying to ask for your salary at that time, but I know that business analysts get at least reasonable remuneration, right? So
Yeah.
what led to the change again from being a BA into DevOps?
I'd say, while money was a driving force, it was my appetite for knowledge. Like I said before, I have a mandate for myself where I try as much as possible to learn one skill a year, and I don't see myself stopping, anytime soon. So I just, even my wife knows me, and she's always looking, oh, what is he up to now? There's always something that I want to improve myself on, because like I know where I came from. Growing up, I didn't have a lot of privilege that some people or people that were born here would have. So now that I have it on my fingertip, I don't let my age or my background limit me. I trying to consume as much information that I can digest and off of. So DevOps was it was a really tough transition, but it was a transition I was happy that I made, because um, it really stretched me to I would say my limits. I had to. There were times when studying for it, I would go to bed at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and I have work at 8:30 in the morning. So, and I have a young daughter also. So it was definitely a stretch for me, but it was a sacrifice that I was willing to make to, put myself in the right space to, branch out to other kinds of, investments and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. And I think that what you just said now, it's a really big eye opener. I mean, if you were able to transition with a young daughter and a full-time job, going to bed at 3 a.m., and of course you have to turn for your meetings in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say that is a motivation to anybody who will see this video to know that it's all about excuses when you can't get it done. So if
Yeah.
as long as you're determined and you know what you want, everything is possible. That's really awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I mean, there
So
will always be, like I used to tell my wife, I use this to encourage my wife every time, and especially when something comes up, I'll just tell her there's always a good reason why you shouldn't do something, but if you want if you want your outcome to be different from every other person, you go ahead and do it anyway. So while my wife was she was really helpful in my career, because there are times when I'll be down, I'm trying to solve a problem and it doesn't come to me. She would just tell me, okay, don't worry, just relax. Maybe you come to me tomorrow. And yeah, just having a good spouse also is very helpful. I mean, your support system is very important, especially when it comes to career change.
Awesome, awesome, and that's a really vital point. Support system. I think everybody needs it in
Yeah.
different areas of our life, being able to lean on somebody, because there are times, like, you're trying to move into a new domain with new terminologies. Sometimes everything just seems like it's not possible to
Yeah.
understand. Having that extra support and say, hey, you can do it and it's possible, or even if it's some support from people who are in related industry who can also say, okay, like, you can always go to this person and ask questions and all of that.
Yes. Yes.
That helps as well. Awesome, awesome.
Absolutely.
I'm sure that, when we talk about career change, right? We've been talking about all of the beautiful things. It's all sweet. Oh, I moved from here. I got a good salary. Now I did this. I'm sure that there were problems, right? So
Yeah.
what
Absolutely.
so what problems did you face in all of this, and how did you navigate it?
I'd say part of learning is having patience, right? It doesn't come to you suddenly, right? So having patience, giving yourself room to fail is also very important. I'm I'm very critical of myself, but I understand that I need to create room for failure for myself so that I can learn from them, right? You never really learn anything from always succeeding, right? So uh, throughout the learning process, one thing that came to me is patience, and God factor was very important also. Right, I'm a Christian. My beliefs are, I believe in God, and I know that I owe a lot, everything, all my success today, I owe because of the faith that I have in my God. Right, so um, giving yourself room for failure is very important, right? And you keep trying. You have to be resilient. You keep trying. You keep trying. It doesn't always have to work the first time. It only has to work once, and then you learn from it and move forward.
Awesome. And let's get into a little bit of granular details in terms of difficult times in transition. So
Yeah.
I'm sure, or I would assume that you have this kind of experience. So you're learning something new. You're sitting on your work desk. You're trying to read through its text or its video, and you don't understand it. What do
hmm
you do?
I give myself a break when I'm times when I consume information and it's just not happening for me. I give myself a break. It could be the next day I come back to it, and it just clicks immediately. That happens to me often that than not. Giving yourself a break, also asking people, inquire from people that know better, right? That's why I said, having the right support system is very important. There are websites that you can always go and put your questions in. Like an example is Stack Overflow. You can go in there, put your question in, and there's always people that are ready to answer those questions for you.
Sorry, just to catch that again, what did you call the name of the website?
Stack Overflow.
Stack Overflow.
Overflow.
Okay,
So
okay.
it's a website that a lot of developers and even sometimes business analysts use to ask questions and get a question solved. So yeah.
Awesome. That's quite interesting. So again, still on this topic, because this is a real big problem that people face. When they're doing some career transition. So have you ever given up on anything? So what I'm saying is, you're reading as an aspiring business analyst, as an aspiring DevOps engineer, you're reading through a material, and you just give up. Like, I don't know this thing, and at the end of the day, you never went to it. Did that ever happen to you?
I've never been in that situation before, and I pray I wouldn't. Um, so because of the large appetite that I have for IT, I always, there are times when, to keep it all honest, there are times when I'm studying something and it doesn't come to me, I just leave it for days, 2 days, 3 days maybe. But I always find myself coming back to it. I ask myself this question: do you want to have there just going? What's the worst happen? What's the, so I always I like I always come back to it, even though it doesn't get. I mentioned it always happens that I come to a consensus in understanding what that the issue is, and I'm able to move forward, right? But yeah, everybody goes through that, once in a while where you put in hours to studying this thing, and the hours you put in is not commensurate with the knowledge that you gain from it. So like I said, having that patience also and giving yourself room for failure is very, very important. You want to be critical, with yourself, but don't overly be critical of yourself, right? So yeah,
Awesome. That's very insightful. So it means like regardless of it, if it needs 1 week for you to stay away to balance your sanity, you should do that. Even if it's two
yeah,
weeks, you do that, but never give up
absolutely,
on
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Awesome. So my next question here is, if you could do anything better within all of your transitions, right? What would
Mhm.
that be? If there's something that, oh, I wish I knew this, I wish I actually didn't do this. So what could that be, if any?
Um, if I had known that it was, if I'd had the knowledge, like I said, like they say, um, the difference between successful people and people that are not very successful is the amount of information they're exposed to and what they do with the information. When I came here, I didn't know a lot of what I knew now, and that was because of my circle. Like, um, if I'd known what I known, I think in the IT field I would have been, further than where I am right now, and that's because when I came in, I just was saying, oh, just you have another already, just go to George Brown and get another one because now you have to start all over again. You don't have to start all over again. Every knowledge that you've gained from wherever you came from, in the world is somewhat valuable, right? And I realized that some of the skills that I learned in school as a human resource manager are kind of transferable to business analysis. The critical thinking, the documentation skills. Those things are very, very critical and they're very important, especially when you're working in the business analysis space. So I'd say coming here and not having that information to pursue a career in business analysis was a regret for me, but it happened anyway, and I'm grateful for that.
Awesome, awesome. That's really interesting, and it's one thing that we see. I mean, when people migrate from different countries, the kind of people that you have around you matters a lot because, like they say, show me your five closest people, and I can draw a picture of you because I can
Yeah,
tell what you do on a daily basis. And this is something that we have to be aware of. Maybe as professionals and newcomers to Canada, UK, US, is you have to constantly strive to be with people who have things going on for them, people
yeah,
who have things that is running for them, and not people who will tell you the worst things that is possible, not the best thing
exactly,
that is
exactly.
possible.
Very
So my
important.
final question will be, what is your advice? Now, I know that there are a lot of people who want to pivot to tech, who are like, oh, I want to work from home. I want to earn the six figures. I mean, not all people in technology who earn six figures, but who want to, have better reward for the time that they put in the profession. What is your advice to them?
I would say do some research about the career. Do a lot of research about the career. If you have any close friend that or family member that is doing that same job, them what their day to day is like, and make sure that is something that you would enjoy doing. Because as much as money is a driving force, you want to be able to wake up every morning and be content with the job, right? So do a lot of research about the career and and pathway for the career. transitioning out before I dive into it.
Awesome, awesome. I would agree with that 100%. So whatever you want to get into, get as much information as possible, because at the end of the day, as vast as IT is, there's still some personalization to it, in terms of where can you really function, or
Yeah,
what kind of angle can you really build a career on. And it's
yeah,
only possible that to know that when people outrightly spend time in researching what are the skills that are needed, what are the like learnings that I have to go through to be a business analyst, to be a data analyst, to be a, I don't know, front end developer or full stack developer. I think that should even be where people should spend very good time in before determining what they want to do. And I
yeah.
would agree with you on
That's
that.
yeah. A lot
So
of people even sorry to cut you. You even see a lot of people going into this space and then they end up quitting. I remember that when I started my training as a DevOps engineer, we had a lot of people in the class that were very optimistic about the program and the outcome. But then halfway through, you just start seeing that a lot of them are walking by the wayside. I can very it can be very very discouraging because now it just makes you sad that you've invested all this time only for you to just I don't know give up because let's be honest, some people have a lot of things going on in their life and they have the good reasons for doing it, but you know doing your research and seeing how much it's going to take you to transition fully, uh, proper planning also comes into place, right? So yeah.
yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that. So, I mean, as promised, we don't want to buy so much of your time today. I know that you're a really busy person. So, that is all of my questions. And I'm soliciting that if for any reason we want to have you back on this, it's our own way of giving back to the community, to have people at least get a grasp of what is going on, so that is their decision making, right?
Yeah.
So, if for any reason we would like to have you back, I hope that we can call on you.
Oh, absolutely. I'm always down for you, my brother.
Awesome, that's great. So I want to wish you a really wonderful weekend, and our regards from Careerhaven to your family, and
Yeah, man.
enjoy the little good weather before it gets really bad.
I will. Thank you, man. Thank you for having
Have a
me.
wonderful weekend.
You too. Bye.